Some encouraging signals on the inventory front nationally, plus traffic activity continues to point to strong demand in 2024. We have that covered and more in this week's report. Thanks, as always, for taking a few minutes to join us for our weekly market report, where we share our real-time insights into our local housing market. So let's dive in. First up, we're taking a national look here at new listings. So we believe this is a very insightful graph, which is why we've included it, because you can see the slope of the line in almost all years except this year is pretty much the same. That's just normal seasonality at play. But the black line is this year, and the dotted line represents the trends as if it were doing what it normally does at this time of year. But you can see that new listings across the country are falling off, aren't falling off as fast, which means we are likely to start off the new year in a better inventory position than in previous years, which is really good news. But now let's compare that to our local data, and here are new listings for the 4 counties we track. And you can see the typical spike in the first week of December, but as you can see, we aren't feeling that elevated new inventory like the rest of the country is seeing. But remember, our market is usually not a first mover. Trends happen first in the South and the West and then ripple their way to the Midwest. So while we aren't seeing any respite in inventory here yet, the national data is pretty promising as we turn the calendar to 2024. Here's local contract activity after a dip last week. This week's rebound was pretty strong and we've now outpaced last year for the second time in 3 weeks. Showing report, the awesome leading signal for us, because those showings are active buyers and those are going to become under contract buyers in the upcoming weeks and months. And so showing traffic remains very strong, which it's looking much more like 2021 than 2022 at this point, which this metric keeps giving us a lot of confidence that the demand is resilient and should only increase into the new year, especially if we get any type of downward pressure on mortgage rates. Here's off-market activity. So these are sellers that took their home off the market because they were not able to find a buyer. We keep watching this number closely because it can be a very good leading indicator. But for now, the story hasn't really changed. Very few homes are leaving the market without finding a buyer. Let's talk about balance in the marketplace. 60% on this chart represents a balanced market. We got our normal early December bump in inventory, so this number retreated a bit, although not nearly at the rate as we're used to seeing. And when you add in off-market activity, you get the same type of readings. So to quickly recap, the data is showing some encouraging signs in the inventory front nationally, but that hasn't shown up here locally yet. And traffic activity gives us a pretty solid signal that demand will not wane in the new year. If anything, it will pick up. As always, thanks for taking a few minutes to join us for this week's report, and we'll see you here again next week. Some